song you could sing forever, and I wanted to rhyme and to bend phrase and time into something clever, but you deserve something I could make up.
Okay, this video is directed at Christians. Not all Christians, and specifically the trolls that have been plaguing my channel for like the last while. One of them just basically said something that just pissed me off. Yes, it is clear that you have wasted over 35 years of your life on your atheistic delusion. Atheist total fail. This comes across like somebody who didn't make it past the 8th grade. If you bothered to read anything that I have written or watched any of my videos, this is just a troll coming to the rescue of another troll who has just thrown out a bunch of crap that's totally not true based on absolute whatever. Anyway, I was a Christian from the age of 12 to about 4 years ago. So in my middle 40s is when I stopped believing. All the time between age 12 and the middle of my 40s, I was a confessing Christian. I was a believer. It would be nice if people, 35 years of being an atheist, I really wish that I hadn't gone the majority of my adult life believing in something without bothering to research that thing that I believed in. Just believing it because... Why did I believe it? Okay, well, this is how it happened. I was 12 years old, and I didn't know it at the time, but my mom was a schizophrenic. She heard voices. She's my only parent. My dad died when I was 6. So all I have is my mother, and my mother had a very low opinion of me. It's just recently that I found out that she had schizophrenia, and probably she's loved me my whole life, but maybe it was her voices that said things to her, and she listened to her voices. So I firmly believed for a large chunk of my childhood that I was a bad, horrible, evil person, that I was garbage. Yes, I was really crappy in school because that's what I felt I was. I felt like I was unworthy to have any friends, that I couldn't possibly be loved by anybody. I was a failure. I was a disappointment. I was something that my mother was embarrassed of, and she wanted to hide away. And I lashed out in my early, basically between the ages of 12 and 13. I went through a time where I was lashing out, being a major troublemaker, because I wanted the police to take me away and lock me up in juvenile detention. I actually thought that that might be a nicer place to live, certainly a safer and less toxic place. My mom took me to the Billy Graham crusade because she thought that Billy Graham, maybe I would become a Christian. Maybe I would become saved at the Billy Graham crusade. Well, guess what? That's exactly what happened there at the King Dome in Seattle. I went down and was part of a crowd on the bottom of the King Dome, and they passed out these little books. It talks about the prayer that you're supposed to say and what it means and what happens when you say it. And I really truly believed that this was my one way to be good. I believed that I was born bad and all these things that my mom told me that I was. I believed it. And to this day, I still, deep down inside, believe. It's everything that I can do to try to build some kind of self-esteem without depending on other people to build it for me. But at that time when I was down in the Billy Graham Crusade and I was saying the prayer, I truly believe that that was my one chance to be a good person. My one way to be a good person. Be what I wanted to be so much. So I asked Jesus into my heart, and guess what? I changed. And you know why I changed? It's not because a God came into my heart and made me into a new creature. Although at the time that's what I thought, but it's not that. It's because I truly did not believe that I could be anything of any value on my own. I truly believed I couldn't be good or caring or loving or kind or any of these things that I wanted to be on my own. When I asked Jesus into my heart, I believed that I had a supernatural helper to help me do the impossible. I believed that I had a crutch that I could lean on and it would help me do what I didn't think I was capable of doing by myself. The funny thing is, I did these things because I thought I had somebody walking beside me, giving me strength. And I turned it around. I stopped doing the things that I was doing, trying to get into juvie. Believe it or not, I got a cat. I was seeing a therapist at the time, and he said, "What would it take for you to stop doing these behaviors, doing these things?" And I said, I want a cat. Sounds silly, but I needed something to love. Desperately needed something to love and needed something to love me back. And I had begged my mom for a cat. She let me have pet mice and rats and fish. But it wasn't enough. I wanted a cat. I wanted something that I could hold and sleep with at night and just feel like I had a friend. So I got the cat, and part of the bargain was I was going to turn it around, turn my life around, and I did. And my mom was convinced that, I was truly, my conversion was real because it changed me. I stopped doing the things that were getting me into trouble, and so it must be that Jesus was in my heart. And what's funny is it didn't really change my situation with my mom. Every time I went with any problem I had, went to seek my mom, I wanted to bond with my mom so much, and I'd go to her and with problems, and all she would ever say to me is, "You need to take it to God, you need to pray." No, I needed my mom. I needed somebody to love me. I needed somebody who would be willing to listen and hug me. I went my whole life feeling like that. Feeling like I needed people. That I needed people to give me these things to help me feel lovable and like I had value. I was putting a lot of effort into trying to be good because and I had this supernatural helper, so I felt like I could be good. I could be all the things that my mom said that I wasn't. If I had with Jesus in my heart, I felt like I could do all these things, but the love wasn't coming back. It's like as hard as I tried, the love wasn't coming back. I wasn't getting any of, she wasn't loving me. So my whole life has been this lovely pattern of working really hard, trying to be as good as I can be. And I had this crutch. I had Jesus in my heart. It didn't make me any more lovable. It didn't make me any of the things that I wanted so desperately to be. When I went through my life a couple years ago, after having several rude awakenings, finding out that things that I had really thought were true and had come to cherish and value, friendships I thought I had, a husband's love that I thought I had, it shook me to my core, finding out that these things were not real and they were delusions. They were pretend. And it made me realize how hurtful delusions are. And I went through and became very cognizant of everything that I just have assumed. I assumed these friendships were friends. These people were friends. I assumed they were my friends, and I threw myself 100% into these friendships as much as I could. Like I threw myself into trying to be a good daughter for my mom. I threw myself into these friendships trying to be a good friend, assuming that these people were my friends. Assuming things, you know, just because it makes you feel good. It doesn't, in the long run, it only hurts you when you finally have to find out the truth. You find out what is true, and it's really, really, really hurtful. And I didn't want to be hurt anymore. I threw away the crutch. I realized things I had going on in my head for years that I tried really hard to ignore. All the things in the Bible that didn't make any sense to me, that I just ignored. Like the fact that Satan is, I mean, I'm sorry, but why doesn't God just kill Satan? Why did God make him in the first place? There's so many stupid things about this Bible, about the story that Christianity is based on. It makes no sense. God makes his enemy, knowing ahead of time that this is going to be his enemy, and knowing ahead of time all the bad things that Satan's going to do. God makes Adam and Eve knowing ahead of time that he's going to put them in the garden in close proximity with his arch enemy, knowing ahead of time what the arch enemy is going to do and what it's going to what's going to cause to have happen, and everything he knows ahead of time, and it makes absolutely no sense. Satan is God's enemy, and yet Satan hates the people that get thrown in hell, and why would he hate the people that are on his side? It's only because he works for God. He does God's bidding. He is a chattel of God's. And it makes no sense at all that the way, I'm sorry, that's basically what I did. I started ruthlessly going through and confronting everything all these little things that had bothered me, that I just didn't want to face, and I didn't want to really lay them out on the carpet and really look at them. That's what I did, and one of the first things to go was religion. When I started cleaning out the delusion in my life, that religion was one of the first things to go. And that's just, the funniest thing is I grew up hearing about the fruits of the Spirit. The things that are basically blossom in you when you have the Holy Spirit in you. Fruits of the Spirit. I like to think that I had some pretty good things in my heart. I took somebody in who was very ill because I loved him and I cared for him and he was nice to me and it meant a great deal to me. And for the first time in my life, I really put somebody else before myself. I have never been able to do that before. Even when I was married, I never was really able to put my husband ahead of myself. This was the first time that I did that I actually put somebody else's well-being ahead of myself. Things that I used to do because I enjoyed doing them, I stopped doing because this man really needed somebody to be there for him. Well, I haven't lost those fruits of the Spirit. I haven't been a Christian for 4 years. I still care. As much as I am angry and hurt by the way this man turned his back on me and basically said, thanks, but I don't need you anymore, I know that my capacity to forgive is pretty amazing. If this man would just one time, and he has never done this, if he would just one time say to me, yeah, Diane, I guess I did kind of take advantage of your feelings, I'm sorry. He would be forgiven in a heartbeat. This bartender that went behind my back and let a whole bunch of people think things about me that he knew perfectly well were not true, just so I would have this horrible treatment at this bar trying to get rid of me without me knowing that he was behind it. If he asked me for forgiveness, I'd forgive him. I don't think I would ever want to have anything to do with him ever again, but I would forgive him if he asked. Learning to forgive my mom has been one of the hardest things that I've done. And all of that happened after I became an atheist. I didn't find out my mom had schizophrenia until after I became an atheist. You know, I've actually done a lot of growing in the last 2 years, and I've done it without Jesus in my heart. And I haven't stopped being a kind, caring person. I have a zillion animals. I just took in another cat. I don't want another cat. This little cat's half feral and scratches the hell out of my wrists. The last thing I need is another cat. I took the cat in. I have a really big heart. I'm a very good person, and I've always been a very good person. And that's the part about Christianity that really angers me so much, is it targets people like me. It targets people who have something going on, low self-esteem. They don't truly believe that they can be good all by themselves. They need a supernatural buddy to be good. And then they're afraid if they lose that, they're going to go back to being this nothing, this bad waste that they were before. It's awful to go around thinking that you can't be good without this supernatural whatever. I am learning, in the last 4 years, I have learned, I no longer have my mother telling me the things that she was telling me. My mom that I knew doesn't exist anymore. The only mom that I know now doesn't even really know who I am. I no longer have her telling me that I'm a bad person. I, at this point in my life, don't really have anybody around. People that I wanted to like me that couldn't like me and kind of reinforce the things that I believe deep down that I am trying not to believe about myself. I don't have that anymore. And you know what I'm finding out? I'm finding out that I really am a good person. I'm finding out that I've always been a good person. That I have always been, deep down inside, this is me. I love people. I love animals. I care. I just want to be a good friend to the people that I care about. This video's gotten really long, But what I'm trying to say is it's not that you need Jesus. You need to learn to love yourself. It's not that you need a supernatural buddy or a crutch to be good. You need to learn to believe in yourself. You need to understand that just because somebody that you love is telling you all the time or making you feel all the time that you can't measure up, that there's something wrong with you or whatever, it's not true. Just because somebody else thinks a thing doesn't make it true. And you can be whatever you want to be. And you can start working on it today. You don't need to have God. You don't need to have this supernatural boogeyman. You don't. It's like becoming dependent on a drug. You feel like you can't be happy without that drug. Yeah, you can. And it's really kind of cool to find out that you had it all along inside you. You had the strength that you didn't think you had. You had the goodness in your heart you didn't think you had. Do I want to go back and read about Jesus? I was accused of not being, of wanting to stay ignorant. First of all, I'm not ignorant. I was a Christian for the majority of my life. I think I know a little bit about what I believed in and what I was. Would you like me to open my Bible and show you all the highlighted and underlined parts? Because I could. I was a full-time staff member at Lake Sammamish Bible Camp. I worked as a Christian service volunteer. I lived in a tiny little trailer. I don't even know, I think it was like 20 feet. This was a small little trailer I lived in 2 years. There was times when I didn't have food and I lived on top ramen. I remember one time on the other side of the horse corral there was a private residence and there was a little garden, and I remember one time I snuck over the fence and stole a squash because it was sitting there and it looked like they had overlooked this, and I was hungry. You know what? I toughed it out for God. I was in there. I was fighting the good fight. I was going hungry. And I wasn't making a lot of money. I was making no money at all. I had to walk. I don't even know how far it is from Camp Sambika to Issaquah, where the Denny's was, where I worked. But to go to work, I had to walk to work and walk home. And it was as far as one highway exit. It was one highway exit away. Sambika was on right off an exit, and to get down to where I worked at Denny's, I had to walk down to the next highway exit. So you have to know that's a bit of a walk. That was how I made money. That's how I was able to support my cat. I had a cat before I went to work at Denny's. I went down to Seattle and I donated plasma. And they gave me $5 for donating plasma, and that's how I bought Cubby's food. So please don't tell me that I don't know what it is to be a Christian, and that I don't know what it is to live, to walk the walk and not just talk the talk. I was a Christian, and I did my time for God. And I will get insulted if anybody insinuates it, just because I really don't want to expose myself to more poison now, which is what it is. I don't want to have any more of that. I ingested that my whole life. It's really done a number on my self-esteem. I'd rather not have that anymore. I've heard it all. I've heard it all. Why do I need to hear it again? No, I am not choosing to be ignorant. I am choosing to protect myself from the shit that I've heard my whole life. I think that if a Christian is going to accuse me of being ignorant, that Christian needs to walk in the shoes of an atheist for a while and then come back and tell an atheist that they're deluded. I at least can say that I was a Christian. I did try those shoes on. I wore them most of my life. Now I'm an atheist, and now I can say I really think the whole thing is a lie, and it's a horrible crutch that makes people weak, makes people not ever find out what they really have in them, that their own strength, their own ability, their own goodness. Anyway, so this is a fucking long video, but I was really mad. I was thinking about this driving home in my car, and it was just pissing me off. I decided I'm just going to make a video, and I'm just going to say what I think. I don't want to have anything to do with this poison anymore, but I am not going to debate with people that refuse to hear only their side. I've heard the other side. If the Christian wants to talk to me about religion, great, but I don't want to talk to somebody who's just a troll and wants to fill my channel with a bunch of bullshit and not bother hearing anything else except what they want to say. So, anyway, this is way too long, and I don't even know if this is all going to copy onto it, but I'm going to try. If anybody's listened to this, thank you for listening. Bye.